hiya, hello, it's me, Drawer. So, Artfight's in 3 days. What's Artfight, you ask? Artfight is an annual art event that starts every year at the 1st of July, where participants attack each other by drawing art of the original character of someone from the other team. Because there are teams. I forgot to mention that. The attacked participant can either make a defense by drawing art of a character of the person that attacked them, or they can just attack someone from the other team to keep the ball rolling. So since that's happening, I decided today's video could be me drawing reference sheets for 2 of my characters and talk about my characters for a bit before uploading them up to Artfight. Well, the first character I will be presenting to you is Nur. Here's her Artfight description. Just a shy, unassuming 16-year-old Algerian Muslim girl living in Detroit, Michigan. Nur is a nice person. She helps the elderly cross the road, she comforts crying strangers, she listens in class. She's a nice girl. The problem is she knows that. She's been told repeatedly by others that she is, and now this belief has comfortably made place for itself in her head. Her loved ones, her family, and her friends back when she was in Algeria okay, the description is a bit broken. Point is, they always told her that she was nice, and they reaffirmed this belief, so she just thinks that. Nur thinks there is a set way people should do things to be moral and good, and she subconsciously looks down upon people who do not follow that line of thinking. She respects others, of course, to the degree in which she treats them kindly and considerately, but she doesn't trust those she disagrees with on important decisions for herself anyway. Her goodness comes from a genuine place of care, but she's aware of her goodness, and with her view on morality, it tends to make her see herself as superior to others, though she doesn't express this feeling outwardly. When Nur enrolls in 8th grade after moving to Detroit over the summer, she isn't exactly expecting to be well liked, especially with the then current national sentiment towards Muslims. This is in the 2000s. Oh boy. But boy, does she try to have friends. But even then, by the end of first period, after having attempted to talk to several people and only being met with hostility, Nur is thoroughly convinced she won't find any friends here. But then Nur finds Riley on lunchtime the first day of school. 2 outcasts sitting next to each other at the loneliest table in the school cafeteria. And from that point on, Riley and Nur are best friends. This goes on to be terrible for the both of them. Nur enables Riley, letting herself be pushed over, which only makes Riley bolder and more comfortable with treating her badly. They don't actually like each other. They haven't in a while, not since 8th grade when they first met each other. But their friendship is the status quo, and it's one they have been in for 3 years, and they're both either too familiar or comfortable with it to ever dare to change it. Until the middle of 11th grade. And that's where the story starts. So yeah, as you can see, Nur is best friends, quote unquote, with Riley. You will see her later. They have like a nice dynamic going on. And by a nice dynamic, I mean they are toxic. So, like I said, Nur is a kind person, right? She's a good person. She does her best. She always does her best. She's well behaved. She's been raised to be exactly the type of person that her and her family and her community would consider good. Like a real goody two-shoes. And her goodness, like I said, is genuine. Like she actually cares. She cares about people. She cares about like doing a good job. All of that stuff. She cares about doing the right thing. She's a little shy. She's a little reserved, just naturally. But, like, she's kind of like the quiet kid in class, except she does talk. She just doesn't talk to a lot of people. Like, her first day at, like, 8th grade, where she was trying to talk to people and trying to befriend people, was probably the time where she talked to strangers the most. So that's that facet of her character. And about the looking down on others thing, it's not quite holier than thou shenaniganery. It's more like, oh, are you not doing what I consider to be right? Okay, I'm just gonna, like, quietly respect you just a smidge less and not ask you for, well, not ask, but not really listen to your advice about, like, situations where I need ethical advice or whatever. She's just like, oh, okay, you're giving me this advice because you're this, because, like, you see the world this way, but I think that way is wrong, so I'm just gonna follow my way. So that's her flaw. Another one of her flaws is, like I said, she lacks a bit of spine. She's a bit cowardly. She's quiet, right? Like, if she's comfortable in a situation, then she's good at asserting herself. But if she isn't familiar with the situation, and if she, like, doesn't feel in control, then she's not really good at, like I said, talking and stuff. Our second character is Riley O'Malley. Here's her Artfight description. Just a lonely 16-year-old girl living in Michigan, Detroit, with a whole lot of issues. Riley is deeply insecure and copes with her insecurities by building herself up in her head, telling herself over and over and again that actually she's great. She's the best, even. When she's not good at something, she puts others down so she can feel better about herself, so she can still keep that sense of superiority she has over others. She also has a hard time sympathizing with others. Both of these traits combined make Riley a very self-centered person. This, then, makes it very hard for her to befriend people. Any friendships she makes with anyone else end after a few months, or maybe a year. After the friend in question gets tired of constantly being put down in small ways, as Riley's superiority complex appears in silent, insidious phase. This repeated process turns Riley even more reserved than she ever was before. So when she moves to Detroit and enrolls in 8th grade in a new school, Riley's plan is to simply keep to herself. But then Noor finds Riley on lunchtime the first day of school. Two outcasts sitting next to each other at the loneliest table in the school cafeteria. And from that point on, Riley and Noor are best friends. This goes on to be terrible for the both of them. Noor enables Riley, letting herself be pushed over, which only makes Riley bolder and more comfortable with treating her badly. They don't actually like each other. They haven't in a while. Not since 8th grade, when they first met each other. But this is the status quo they have been in for 3 years, and they're both either too familiar or comfortable with it to ever dare to change it. So that's Riley's character description. So Riley is someone that, like, has very, very deep insecurities, and her coping mechanism for that is to tell herself that she's great, actually. And because of this, she thrives on praise, and she thrives on, like I said, being superior in her mind to others. Like, whenever she gets admiration or praise, that really just, like, that's usually what she seeks from people, you know. She's not actually that good at anything in particular. She tends to be decent at stuff, you know. Doesn't really listen as school, doesn't really have any other things she does. She just doesn't really do anything, and she just tells herself that she's great how she is right now. She tells herself that she doesn't need to change, and that if she keeps getting left behind by people, it's because they suck, actually, and not because anything's wrong with her. If Riley is comfortable somewhere in terms of, like, status quo, then she won't change it. Like, she doesn't feel the need to change because, like, you know, the lies she tells herself. that being said, Riley isn't, like, I know I've been describing her as just this very self-centered person, but she, like, if anyone met her on an average day, she would just seem like a kind of reserved, kind of antisocial girl that's just there. When she's actually friends with someone, i.e. Noor, she defends them, she does things for them because she actually cares about her friends. It's just that, like, she feels the need to tell herself that she's better than others to keep her insecurities in check. So Noor and Riley, right? There is very much like a more dominant one and a more, I guess, calm one in the duo. Riley generally doing the speaking in whatever situation they're in, and Noor just kind of staying behind and just kind of nodding and following along. So yeah, that's a part of their dynamic. It's more like Riley does things, Noor comes along or comments or just adds stuff, but whenever they're in a conversation, it's always Riley that's talking. Whenever they go somewhere, it's always Riley that, like, I don't know, orders food, I guess. And whenever someone makes Noor uncomfortable or something, Riley's there to defend her. Because, as I said, she can't really advocate for herself. Noor, in turn, like, does nice little things for Riley. Like, she makes little knickknacks, I guess, for her as gifts. She, like in the picture, brings the umbrella along whenever it's, you know, she comforts her whenever she's sad, that kind of thing. Riley is, like I said, really insecure, so whenever she feels insecure or she feels attacked by something, her gut reaction is to just put everyone else down so they're at her level. Her gut reaction is to just bring everybody else down with her. So, being the person Riley hangs out with the most, Noor ends up being the person that happens the most to, and that's how the dynamic starts, like, that's how the duo starts falling apart. Like, at first it's small, right? Like, the first year, it doesn't happen a whole lot because they just met, blah, blah, blah. But as the years go by, it starts happening more and more. Like, Riley gets more and more comfortable with just maybe, like, backhandedly insulting Noor and getting more comfortable with just, like, I don't know, being passive aggressive with her and just making her feel bad because Noor is just not reacting. She's just taking everything Riley throws at her. And the more time goes on, Noor just discovers Riley more and more. And unlike Noor, Riley is someone that, like, doesn't really follow, like, the type of life that, for example, your parents would want you to lead, like the type of life that most people would consider to be successful, right? Listen in school, do this, do that, follow shenanigans, like participate in school, blah blah blah. So Riley doesn't really do that, and so that, and on top of the treatment that Riley is giving her, makes Noor just kind of respect and like Riley less and less. So they're both equally starting to dislike each other more and more because Noor gets on Riley's nerves too whenever she's doing like the goody two-shoes thing. Riley just can't handle it because Noor is often better than her, like in class and stuff, and generally gets more praise for her achievements by teachers and blah blah blah. Well, whatever, teachers that aren't racist in the 2000s anyway. Forgot this was in the 2000s for a second. Anyway, like I said, so they both start like disliking each other more and more as the years go by, and by the time they're in 11th grade, which is where the story will start, they're just hanging with each other because they have no one else to hang with, because they would be completely alone otherwise. So the story will follow them like drifting apart more and more, and maybe not drift, but it will follow the story of how they stop being friends with each other and how the friendship really just goes wrong. I haven't exactly figured out the plot yet, or even the name of the story, but like I'm really interested in something falling apart just because two people have like different flaws and just because they don't match each other, you know? Like, I know Riley seems kind of like the bad one, but I'm trying to make it so both Noor and Riley have something to do with their friendship falling apart, you know? Because I think like the concept of, oh, it's kind of everyone's fault that something fell apart is interesting, you know. So I'm drawing like an illustration of like at the early stages of their friendship where like Riley would. So yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next week. Expect everything and nothing. Bye!